Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Today we have the BFG. The BFG, before your mind starts trailing off and trying to figure out what that might stand for, I'm going to just tell you right off the bat, it's a big friendly giant. Yeah, get out of the gutter. Yeah, or out of the, if you go back as far as the Doom video game, you might have another definition in mind. But this is a big friendly giant, and this is actually based on the book by Roald Dahl, a name you might recognize as the creator of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I'm pretty sure I keep wanting to say Ronald, but there's no N in there. It's Roald. Roald. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but one name I do know that I'm pronouncing correctly is Steven Spielberg, the director of this film. This is Steven Spielberg working with Disney, directly directing a movie for them. And I'm trying to think of something else he's done with them, because he's done so many iconic films. I mean, technically Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, those are all Paramount films, even though Disney owns the rights to Lucasfilm, which is the production company. It's a big mess. So technically, it might be his first big thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, feel free to comment and tell me that I'm wrong, but I cannot think of what he would have done directly with Disney before this. Unfortunately, I don't know if this movie really ever went anywhere in the theaters. I wanted to see it. It was Steven Spielberg. It's a classic book, and it looked really magical and everything else. But I never saw it until now, and I think I missed out. Because there's so many elements to this film, especially it's effects heavy. You got to figure that. It's really effects heavy, and with the budget that Steven Spielberg can demand, it's not going to be some, chintzy, let's just sleepwalk through the special effects kind of production. This is top notch. The only problem I have in this is the animation for the dogs and cats that appear in it. Dogs should not look at the camera and go, whoa, it's a little bit goofy. But again, it's a goofy, silly, sweet movie with a little bit of a scary element to it, just a tiny bit. But it's meant for children. It's a book for children. It's a movie for children. And, it's apparently, I find out most of the way through the film that it's set in the 80s. It's in England, or at least maybe northern England. The girl switches between, she has a British accent, but she goes a little northern from time to time. Like, she might be Scottish, I'm not sure. But yeah, she rolls into that a little bit every so often. But she's a sweetheart, and she's a little girl who's an what's her name? Ruby Barnhill, who plays Sophie. She is an orphan, and there you go, the Disney trope, dead parents. She's an orphan. That's not funny. Why am I laughing at dead parents? It's just a trope. I'm sorry. But she's living in an orphanage. She's got this place running more smoothly than the lady who's actually in charge of things. She looks after her own little place. But besides a small cameo from the woman that runs the place, she's the only character you see in the orphanage, and her cat. But she's a girl who stays up kind of late. She says she doesn't dream. She's a bit of an insomniac. And one night she hears a sound outside, and she knows the rules. Whenever something scares you, you don't get out of bed, you don't go to the window, you don't pull the curtains aside. And she does every single one of those things. She's a reader of some scary stories, I imagine. But she looks out the window, and she sees a hand reaching around a corner, setting a trash can he knocked over, setting it right. And eventually they come eye to eye. She comes eye to eye with a giant, very big guy, stands 25 feet tall, something like that. He's mostly in shadow. And I'm not going to tell you much more than this, but because I think the movie is all about discovery and discovering this kind of new world, this relationship. But she comes face to face with this giant, and she's freaked out. I would have been a little bit more upset than she was if that had actually happened to me. Um, uh, Basically upset. Let's just say it. I would have been wanting to grab more underwear at the moment of being snatched out of my bed. A hand reaches into the window of the orphanage where she had witnessed him as she crawls under the covers, and he just snatches her up and carries her away. And you see how he sort of melds into the backdrop of the city, and as he makes his way out of the town where she is. I'm guessing it's London, some corner of London, some part of England, and he makes his way to some mystical world where giants exist. And they've collected very many things over the years from our world, very small little buses and boats and things like that that they've incorporated into their world. And yes, I said they. He is not alone. But as the title suggests, there's a big friendly giant in this one. And he's right there. And yeah, it's their kid. It's the guy who kidnapped her. He literally kidnaps a child out of an orphanage. But she soon discovers that he is big and he is friendly and he's a giant. And but while he's not alone, he is very much alone in that demeanor. He is the rest of the giants. The lead one, voiced by Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. You've seen him on Legion, What We Do in the Shadows, Moana. He was the crab. His character's name is Flesh Lump Eater. So there's a number of them, a number of other actors who do voices throughout this. Bill Hader does one. Let's see. Yeah, there's a few other ones, but Manhugger. That's Adam Godley. But yeah, there's a few other faces you might recognize in this. Penelope Wilton plays the Queen. The Queen comes into play in this. But I'm getting too far ahead. I don't want to spoil too much. But she's drawn into his world, and it's the kind of thing that I wish I had seen this on the big screen. I really do, because there are certain films that you need to see on the big screen, and this gives me that impression because it's how they depict the scale between the two, between her sensibility and what he understands, and we're seeing it many times at her scale, seeing just how massive everything is, but other times we see it from his point of view as to how small she is, and it beautifully switches between the two that you don't even notice it. But beyond that, how it's shot, the impressive amount of vibrant color. I don't know what they did to really make these colors pop. A lot of the backgrounds are kind of dark, and that's probably the reason. But when he introduces her to what his job is, which I won't tell you, but his job is represented by very bright colors that are introduced into the story and are very important to what he does day to day. So he does his best to keep her hidden away from the other giants, but they smell something is up, and literally something is strange, and he and she, embark on an adventure, and in eventually bringing him into her world. She convinces him after a time. They become good friends, and it's a matter of working together to hopefully stop the tyranny of these other giants. Because guess what? These giants are humongous compared to him. He's a runt of the litter. So there's other mysteries that questions you may have. Where do they come from? Some of those questions are answered. So it's the kind of thing that I think if you haven't seen this movie, if you never read the book or anything else, I can't compare it to the book because I have never read it. But if you have, your point of view might be valid to see if they lived up to the magic of that book. If you really enjoyed it. Other than that, I recommend this. I recommend this film. It's not action packed necessarily. There are moments of action that look amazing, especially there's a big confrontation, obviously, toward the end. But it's mostly about the humor and the empathy of between two characters who are just living with the loneliness and finding somebody in a world that where they don't belong. So it's really super sweet in how it's depicted, and I think you'd really enjoy it. You personally, I'm talking to you. I'm just saying, I think you'd enjoy it. It's a fun little movie. So let's pick. Hopefully, I have not. Yay! It's still here. Let's pick tomorrow's everyday challenge. 144. That was a weird loading. 144. Feels like we've done this one. We have. And I bet you money it's DuckTales related. Yep, DuckTales shorts. All right, let's pick another one. $5.10. We're back in the 500s. But before the thes. $5.10 is before the thes. Huh. All right, we have a series. And it's something we haven't seen before, obviously. Because I'm going, huh. All right, we have... this is, by the way, we missed more Star Wars by just one. This is the last one before the whole stack of Star Wars stuff happens. So 511 onward through 523 or 24? Yeah, through 524. 511 through 524 is all Star Wars. But we have the Spider-Woman animated series instead. So Spider-Woman... if you don't know, Jessica Drew. I think this may have come out in the 80s or 90s. I'm not sure. Maybe 70s. I don't think I've ever watched this. I kind of remember the comic book ads talking about the Spider-Woman cartoon. So I'm thinking this might be an 80s cartoon. I could be wrong, but we're going to find out. We're going to probably watch 2 or 3 episodes at least. And I'll come back here tomorrow and talk about it. All right. Let's see you then. Bye.